Hello everyone. Today's class will be discussing about the mechanics of rigid body. So today is the introduction class for mechanics of rigid body. First let us know what is rigid body and how the equation of motion is um, is derivated for rigid body, as well as what are the equation of motions for rigid body. So myself S. Vidyarani, working as Assistant Professor of Physics at MVS Government Degree College Autonomous, Mehboob Nagar. So now we will see each one of the important points that are related to mechanics of rigid body. First, let us see what is kinematics of rigid bodies. Let us know first what is a rigid body. So a rigid body is a body which has size that is not negligible and does not deform. Even distance between 2 points on body is constant. This is our idealization of a rigid body. According to our idealization, a rigid body has a size that is not a negligible one. That means its size, normally a body which is in a particle size has a size of negligible, but whereas a rigid body has a size that has to be considered, that means that is not negligible. Now we will see what are the types of rigid body motion. So types of rigid body motion is that rigid body motion is involved either translation or rotation or both of these. In any of the way rigid body motion can be there. That means rigid body may have translation motion, or rigid body may have rotational motion, or say rigid body can have both translation as well as rotational motion. First we will see about translation motion. So no rotation of any line in the body. That means there won't be any rotation of line in the body. Then we can say that that motion is to be translatory motion or translation motion. All points in body have same velocity and acceleration. Suppose whatever the body which is moving, so all points in that body will have same velocity as well as same acceleration, and no relative motion between any two particles. That means there is no relative motion among the particles. So now here an example is given regarding rectilinear translation. We will come to know in the next slides what is rectilinear translation and what is curvilinear translation. So I think you have come to know what is a rigid body and what kind of motion can a rigid body have, and in that what is translatory motion. So translation motion can be described in this figure. See, if you have observed, see there is a body here and there is a body here. So here it is moving from this point to this point, let us say. So path of rectilinear translation is that if you have observed, there is a straight line without any curve between the earlier position of the body and the final position of the body. This path is called as, is an example for rectilinear translation. That means no curve nor no bending of the motion. So that means it is moving in a straight line, then it is called as rectilinear translation. Whereas if you observe the second figure, here the body has moved from this point to this point. You might have observed, see there is a gap, there is a curve between from this position to this position. So here both the positions are at the same height, whereas if you have observed, the position of the body has come to slightly down. So that shows that it has bended a little. So if you draw 2 points from this position to this position, so it is not a straight line but little curved line. So that means there is a motion. That's why that body has moved from this point to this point, but it is in a curvilinear straight line, but it's a little curve. So hence we call it as a curvilinear translation. So this figure is an example for curvilinear translation. Now if you observe, every line segment of the body remains parallel to its original direction. So if you have observed, this is parallel to this line, or else if you have observed this line is parallel to the above line, that means every line segment on the body remains parallel to its original direction. So here one example has been given. So this is parallel to this line. So in this way we can show translation motion, that is rectilinear translation and curvilinear translation. And also curvilinear translation, if you observe, so from A to B, so the path is little bit curvier. So we can say that this is an example for curvilinear translation. Let us suppose this body has 2 points AB, let us say, and we have drawn 2 more points after the body has moved to another place, and the new points are A dash and B dash. If you join the earlier points with the new points, so we got a curve over here, so which is an example for curvilinear translation. Next we will see what is fixed axis rotation. So all points move in circular paths about axis of rotation. So let us suppose there is an axis, so about which all the points are moving in circular paths around that axis of rotation. So that means there is an axis fixed, and about that axis of rotation all the points are moving in circular paths. Such rotation is called as fixed axis rotation. So rotation about fixed axis, see this is the axis of rotation. So all the points of this body will be moving around the fixed axis only. So this is called as rotation about fixed axis. All particles of the body move along circular paths except those which lie on the axis of rotation. So few points also lie on the axis of rotation. So in the on the vertical line, only except those points, all other particles of the body move in a circular path about the axis of rotation except those that lie on the axis of rotation. So combination of translation and rotation motion can be explained in this way. If you have observed, the body has moved from this point to this point. So there is a translation motion from this to this, whether maybe it may be curvilinear or rectilinear, but there is a translation motion, as well as this body is rotating, hence it has rotatory motion. So a rotating body will have translation motion as well as rotatory motion. Now we will see what is general plane motion. In a general plane motion, both translation as well as rotational motion occurs, and distance between the particles are fixed. Relative motion of one particle to another will always be a circular motion. So when we are considering plane motion, we have to keep in mind that the distance between the two particles are fixed. Relative motion of one particle to another will always be in a circular motion. And in a general plane motion, both translatory motion as well as rotational motion occurs. See, general plane motion can be said as a summation of a translatory motion as well as a rotatory motion. So now we will see the motion of the rigid bar AB. Let us see the motion of the rigid bar AB. In general motion, what happens? Let us see. So let AB has moved from point A1 to A2, and B2 has moved vertically from B1 to B2. So translation with A gives these points, that is A1 to A2 or B1 to B1 dash is called as translatory motion with A. And if you observe rotation about A, so the body has moved from B1 to B2 with an angle keeping A at its axis. So that means this is rotation about A. So next, if you observe, we could break this motion down another way also. So the same motion can be shown in this way. Let us suppose A1 to A2 has come here and B1 to B2 has come here. So if you see this figure, so here we have taken horizontal translation. Now we will see vertical translation. So A1 to A2 is the difference between the height of these 2 points, and this is B1 to B2 is the translation with respect to B. Next, if you observe rotation with respect to B, if you want to see, here it is there. So B2, if you observe, keeping B2 as its fixed axis, so this A1 has moved to A2, making an angle. So this is called rotation about B. Now we will see what is the difference between rigid bodies and particles. So why are rigid bodies different from particles? So first we will see about particles and how they differ from rigid bodies. Let us see. Particles, if you see, their size is very negligible compared to their motion. And as a particle has a negligible size, all forces acting through that particle is at the center of gravity only. So we can neglect rotation about center of gravity. We can also neglect the rotation about the center of gravity. Hence all forces are acting through the center of gravity because of the negligible size. Whereas for rigid bodies, points of application and lines of action of forces are important. Where we are applying the force and where the action is taking place, that is much important in if you see the rigid body. And also rotation and movements about center of gravity are also important. So as the size of the rigid body is not negligible, so even the rotation and movements about the center of gravity has to be considered at various points. So as I have already told, there are two types of rigid body planar motion. One is translation, that is only in linear direction, and second one is rotational about fixed axis, that is rotational motion, and general plane motion, which consists of both linear and rotational motion. So example, if you see a general plane motion, so here this is an example for rectilinear translation, and this is an example for curvilinear translation. So and this is an example for rotation about a fixed axis. So this is revolving, wheel is revolving around a fixed axis, that is it has a fixed radius and it is moving in a circular path. So this is rotation about a fixed axis. Here also if you observe this, there is a fixed point here, and this is making, suppose say, radius of r, and it is moving along that radius only. So this is an example of rotation about a fixed axis. And here if you see, this is an example for rectilinear translation, and this is an example for curvilinear translation. First we will see in detail about translation. Position vector RB is equal to RA plus RB from A, or else velocity can be written as velocity of B is equal to velocity of A plus differentiation of the position vector, that is drB by A by dt. That means we have differentiated the position vector to get our velocity, or else that means, so RB by A is constant, that means this is a constant value, hence the differentiation value of this constant will give rise to 0, hence VB will become to equal to VA. That means when VB is equal to VA, acceleration also AB is equal to AA. That means all points with same velocity and acceleration in a translatory type of motion. I have already told while defining translation that all points move with same velocity and acceleration because of the condition RB by A from is a constant value. Hence this becomes 0. Hence velocity VB is equal to VA as well as acceleration AB is equal to AA. So all points move with the same velocity and acceleration. If you observe the figure, I have taken x-axis, y-axis. This is the origin, let us say. So this plane has shifted to the new places x dash and y dash. Let us say the origin for the new one is at A, and the extended point of RB is at B. So this is RA, position vector RA, and a point, there is a point B with a distance of RB from the origin, that is RB. So the distance from A to B is called as R of B from A. So this is how we have defined translatory motion in terms of position, velocity as well as acceleration. Now we will see what is time dependent acceleration and constant acceleration. We know that V velocity is rate of change of displacement, that is ds by dt, and acceleration is rate of change of velocity, or else we can write double differentiation of displacement, that is d square s by dt square, or else from this equation a ds is equal to v dv, or else we can write in this way a ds is equal to v dv. So if you see the corresponding formulas for this, v is equal to v naught plus ac into t, where v is the final velocity, v naught is the initial velocity, and a is the constant acceleration. Here ac is constant acceleration, and s, if you see second equation, s is equal to s naught plus v naught t plus half ac t square, whereas s is the final displacement, s naught is the initial displacement, v naught is the initial velocity, t is time taken for a body to move from s naught to s, ac is the constant acceleration. And next third equation, if you see, v square is equal to v naught square plus 2ac into s minus s naught. So we know all the terms here. So this is the equation for finding out the final velocity, that is v square is equal to v naught square plus 2 into acceleration into change in displacement from final position and initial position. Now we will see rotation about a fixed axis. So if you see here, there is a fixed axis I have shown with a vertical line. So this top or something body is rotating around that fixed axis. So that's why all the points are rotating in a circular path around a fixed point. Then we call such axis as a fixed axis, and that rotation to be a rotation about a fixed axis. First, let us see what is angular position theta. So angular position theta, if you see, defined by the angle theta measured between a fixed reference line and r. So theta means, theta is the measurement between a fixed reference line and r. So this theta is measured in radians. Okay. Next, let us see angular displacement. Angular displacement is measured as d theta. If you might have observed here, so I have shown d theta here. That means a point around its fixed axis, it has moved from this position to this position. So this is called as displacement but with an angle. Hence we call it as angular displacement. It is measured as d theta, that means change in position. So vector, which is a vector quantity. So this d theta can be measured in radians or revolutions. So one revolution is equal to 2 pi radians. Now we will see angular velocity omega. So rate of change of angular position or rate of change of angular displacement is called as angular velocity. So it is represented by the symbol omega. Omega is equal to d theta by dt, rate of change of angular displacement. Now we will move on to angular acceleration. Angular acceleration is the time rate of change of the angular velocity, or else rate of change of angular velocity is defined as angular acceleration. In other words, we can also define angular acceleration as the double rate of change of displacement, angular displacement, double differentiation of displacement. So alpha can be written as rate of change of velocity, angular velocity. Hence alpha is equal to d omega by dt. Or else if it in terms of angular displacement, this can be written as alpha is equal to d square theta by dt square. So alpha is a function of theta. Finally, if you observe this, alpha is a function of theta, or else alpha d theta can also be written as alpha d theta is equal to omega dw. This is also can be written in this way. Now, so we will see constant angular acceleration. So first, to find out the velocity omega, final velocity omega is equal to initial velocity omega naught plus constant acceleration alpha c into t. T is the time taken by the body to move from initial position to final position. And theta is the displacement, angular displacement. That theta is equal to theta naught plus omega naught plus half alpha tc square. So this is the angular acceleration which is represented by alpha. And next, if you observe the omega square, that's value is equal to omega square is equal to omega naught square plus 2 alpha c into theta minus theta naught. So these are the equations for a rigid body, or we can say equation of rotational rigid body. So now we will compare with linear motion. If you observe, these are the one side we have taken linear motion, once the other side we have taken angular motion or say rotatory motion. So S of t is similar to theta t, that shows the displacement. S is a function of t, whereas here angular displacement theta is also function of t. Velocity is equal to rate of change of displacement. Here if you see, angular velocity is nothing but rate of change of angular displacement. Here acceleration a is rate of change of velocity. Here angular acceleration alpha is equal to rate of change of angular velocity d omega by dt. Or else we can also write in terms of displacement, that is d square s by dt square. Here if you have observed, we have written the angular acceleration alpha in terms of theta, that is d square theta by dt square. So all these terms are similar to these terms, but this is in linear motion and this is in rotational motion. So here finally a into ds is equal to v dv. In the same way, a is similar to alpha, so hence alpha into ds is similar to d theta, hence alpha into d theta is equal to v is similar to omega, hence we have written omega. dv is similar to d omega, hence we have written d omega. Now if you compare both the equations in linear motion as well as in rotational motion, these terms are similar to these terms. If these terms are used in linear motion, these terms are used in rotatory motion. So v is equal to v naught plus ac into t, omega is equal to omega naught plus alpha c into t, s is equal to s naught plus v naught t plus half ac t square, whereas here displacement is regarded as theta. So theta is equal to theta naught plus omega naught t plus half alpha c t square. And this equation v square is equal to v naught square plus 2ac s minus s naught, whereas here omega square is equal to omega naught square plus 2 alpha theta minus theta naught. So in this way we can compare linear motion terms with rotational motion terms. Now we will see motion of point P. Position is defined by the position vector r. See, this is the radius formed by the circular motion. So from fixed point to this point, this is the distance, or say radius. So position is defined by the position vector r. So now we will calculate the arc length. If you see, the arc length is nothing but this is the arc, pink color one. So the highlighted pink color one shows the arc length. So to find out the arc length, s is equal to r into theta. That means r is the position vector and theta is the angular displacement. So s is equal to r theta. That means linear displacement s is equal to position vector r into angular displacement theta. In the same way we have to find out the velocity. So velocity is equal to ds by dt, whereas s in terms of angular displacement we can write it as r theta. So r theta is nothing but d theta into r by d theta by dt into r. So d theta by dt is nothing but omega according to velocity, angular velocity. So omega into r. So that means tangent to the path. So we can write this as omega into position vector omega cross r. So cross product of angular velocity and position vector gives the linear velocity v. So v is equal to omega cross r. Now motion of point P, we will see the acceleration also. We know that acceleration is equal to dv by dt, or else if it write in terms of angular velocity, it is d by dt into r omega, or else we can write r into d omega by dt, whereas d omega by dt is angular acceleration, so it can be replaced by alpha. So this is equal to alpha into r. Or else rate of change of in the velocity magnitude, an is equal to v square by r, or else v is omega r whole square by r gets cancelled, so we get omega square into r. So alpha can be written as omega square into r also. So rate of change of velocity in the velocity's direction. So this is velocity direction, this is velocity magnitude. Direction of an is always toward o, and it also can be written as a is equal to r into alpha square plus omega power 4. So s is equal to theta 1 r1 is equal to theta 2 r2. Next point, if you see velocity is equal to omega 1 r1 is equal to omega 2 r2, and if you see the acceleration a is equal to alpha 1 r1 is equal to alpha 2 r2. So this is how we can define s, v and a using theta, w, omega and alpha. Now we will see few problems based on this what I have learned.